So it is the end of the best month when it comes to dividends. And I gotta be honest, what just occurred, I wasn't really expecting. So we're gonna take a look at that, guys, as well as, of course, the overall performance for the portfolio for the month of March, because whoo, was it volatile, right? Was it volatile? So I really want to show everybody this. I want to be as transparent as possible. And of course, before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Really does help with the algorithm on YouTube, as well as Rumble. Make sure to follow us on X at Fatal Investing. And if you would like to join us on Discord, which is the best place to catch the live streams, the videos, and the shorts, the link to this in the description below. So with that said, let's get started with this video. So here we go. For the month of March, the portfolio lost $5,311.26. Not really surprising. We had a massive volatile kind of month. However, if we were to take a look at the rate of return and comparing that to the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, and the S&P, we can see that the portfolio actually outperformed all of them, which is very interesting to see. Again, my portfolio, guys, is geared for stability, not necessarily for growth. So when markets fall, my portfolio will fall too. However, it's going to fall a lot less, as you guys can see right there, ending the month at minus 2.5%, while the S&P ended the month at 5.63%, Nasdaq 8.14%, and the Dow Jones 4.06%. All of them in the negative. And now let me show everybody the buys and the sells for the month, because there was a lot of activity. Starting, of course, on the 4th, we had a few things that were done here. On the 4th, I bought some JEPQ. It was the first time I ever bought JEPQ, if I'm not mistaken, and I bought it for $54.12. I bought 7 shares of it, worth around $378.84. Also on the 4th, I bought some Broadcom, 2 shares worth at $192.98 for around $385.97. Then I bought 3 shares of T-Rowe. Yes, I mean, I already covered this on the first half of March's dividend income, but I did buy some T-Rowe for $101.51 for $304 worth. And then I bought some more JEPQ, 4 shares at $54.86, worth $219.44. Then lastly, on the 4th, I bought 4 shares of SCHD for a price of $28.16 for a total of $112.66. However, on the 6th, I actually decided to sell all of my T-Rowe price for a price tag of $100. Now, this was an overall loss of around, like, I think it was like $400 or so, but nonetheless, the reason why I did this is because I looked at their fundamentals, and I personally did not like the fact that they were having outflows for several years now, and it doesn't seem like it's stopping. They are trying to stop it, but it doesn't seem like it is stopping. Not to mention that when it comes to T-Rowe, it's like there's just so many other things that you could do besides putting your money with them and having them invested for you. A lot more people are taking matters into their own hands now. There's not necessarily following, investment management institutions like T. Rowe Price anymore. So I sold all my 123.6946 shares for a price of $100.54. And again, that was at a loss of around $400 or so. Still though, the portfolio I got back, right? $12,435.89. And on the 7th, I did 2 more buys, and this was in regards to Costco, because Costco, guys, Costco went sub 900 this past month. That was crazy. But I did buy 1 share of Costco at $952.95. And then also on the 7th, I bought 1 share of Microsoft, seeing that it did fall sub $400. Bought 1 share at $386.51. Then on the 10th, I bought 4 shares of JEPQ for a price of $52.15 for a total cost of $208.60. Then on the 12th, I did 2 buys. I bought 1 more share of Costco, $928.14, and also 7 shares of JEPQ of $52.39 for a total of $366.69. On the 13th, I bought another share of Costco. This was when they did go sub $900, bought it at $893.55. Then on the 13th, I also bought 2 shares of JEPQ for $51.61, total of $103.21. Then on the 31st, I bought 7 more shares of JEPQ for about $51, which was a total of $357.04. And also I bought 1 share of Broadcom for $162.58. So that was a whole lot of activity this past month. But then again, we had a lot of opportunity. Hopefully that continues. But selling T-Row did make a big ding in the portfolio. As you guys can see, the estimated income right now for 2025, it is $6,694, where for the average, it is $557.83. This was upwards of $600, and the estimated income yearly was almost at $7,000. However, that T-Row one did take out a big chunk. Nonetheless, though, it is actually interesting to see what happened for the month of March, because it was actually expected to have under $1,000 when it comes to the dividend. And this was not the case. And the reason for this was because SCHD announced a dividend hike 5 days before they released their dividend. So that actually pushed my portfolio, the dividend income for March for the portfolio, to $1,020.36. So that is really awesome to see that in March, yes, the portfolio did hit more than $1,000 made. Really good to see. And this does seem to be sticking still for the remaining of the year. Now, obviously, things will go up, things will go down, especially with JEPQ and SCHD. But nonetheless, though, it is still really good to see that it does seem that at least 4 months out of the year, the portfolio will be generating more than $1,000. And now to show everybody exactly where this dividend came from. Now, for some reason, I have this from March 1st to March 31st, but for some reason it's not equaling the same amount as it was in the investment income tab. I don't know, but it's still above $1,000. So on the 3rd, we got a few dividends right here. We got SJM for $28.08, Church and Dwight for 59 cents, and First Energy for $11.58. Then on the 4th, we got Johnson & Johnson, $35.96, American Waterworks, which I did sell, but I still sold it after the ex-dividend date, meaning I still qualified for the dividend even though I did not have the shares. And that was $1.53. Then we got JEPQ for $6.75. Then Southern Company, $61.06. Then Pfizer, which I also no longer have, $5.16. Amgen, $83.30. And now here come the big boys. Chevron, worth $210.33. 3M, $48.82. Microsoft, $6.64. Realty Income, $85.77. UNH, $10.50. QCOM, $18.70. Home Depot, $16.10. Waste Management, $4.13. Lockheed Martin, $13.20. PepsiCo, $13.55. UNP, Union Pacific, $30.03. Broadcom, $61.95. CCI, Crown Castle, $68.52. And then SCHD, look at this one, SCHD, $120.67. And the last one, when it came to the month of March, was DLR, $65.51. And if we actually compare this to every other March since I first started tracking these dividends back in 2020, we can see that this is the highest amount of dividend payments I have had ever, which is really good to see. Going back to March of 2020, the portfolio only generated $14. March of 2021, $93.92. March of 2022, $420, nice, and 37 cents. Then March of 2023, $657.34. March of 2024, $982.10. And then March of 2025, $1,020.36. And with the end of March, we also have the end of the quarter. And if we can actually see here, we can see that that actually did take a dip overall from Q3 of 2024 down to Q4 of 2024. You guys can see $1,751.89 down to $1,623.30. But now it actually went slightly up to $1,651.77. And so far for the year, the total portfolio income has been around $1,651.77, which is basically almost caught up to what it was for the entire year of 2021. But now if we actually come back over here and we look forward to the month of April, we could see that the dividend payment does come down a little bit to $323.66. However, guys, if the volatility continues and we get much better offers, especially by the time you guys are seeing this, it'll be Liberation Day, meaning that Trump would have implemented a ton of new tariffs globally across the board. Markets should absolutely be reeling. In fact, on a quick side note, just looking at futures really quickly, they're all in the negatives. Dow is basically flat. The S&P, it is down 0.25%, and the Nasdaq, it is down 0.16%. So hopefully the volatility continues, because if it does, I will most likely continue to buy whenever I can, meaning that by the time June comes along, this $1,027.55 should actually be a whole lot more. In fact, I'm going to try to aim, if this actually does occur, I'm going to try to aim for $1,100 for the month of June, seeing that June and September, I think, are the best months out of the 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. Regardless, though, that pretty much does it for this video. The end of the quarter has occurred. We are now in Q2, meaning that all the earnings that we're going to get are from Q1. So we're going to see a lot more volatility in that aspect as well, not to mention with all the tariffs, not to mention with just everything happening, right? So if you guys do see the markets fall, you guys have to be happy about that, because it means that you get to buy great cash flowing companies with a much higher yield. So just think about it like that, right? Think about it like that. But anyways, that pretty much does it for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Really does help with the algorithm on YouTube as well as Romo. Make sure to follow us on X at Fatal Investing. And if you'd like to join us on Discord, which is the best place to catch the live streams, the shorts, and the videos, link to this in the description below. So with that said, peace out, and we will see you all next time.